Beginning work on the face. Alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, bright red, titanium white, ochre, woody yellow, little blue. And some dry brush. A bit of blue. Working with acrylics for our base work. Reshaping the eyebrow area. Our lightest point. This should be a very smooth transition here. Dry brush blending. A little bit of water. Pulling some of our lighter color over the eye. Our darks are already laid in. Gives us the ability to start blending. Our bonnet will come over that area there. blue shadow color, a little bit of flesh tone. This area should be quite light. Again, with the acrylics, we're just doing a base colors. This brush is a Dynasty Black Dynasty Gold. They are fantastic for watercolors, oils, whatever medium you're using. They have you can bring them to a very fine point. They make them in a lot of sizes. And when it comes to watercolor, oils, acrylics, there's pretty much nothing you can't do with them if you're wanting a chiseled edge. It will give it to you. Okay. When you start the blending process, think about the curvature of the face. There are no sharp edges on a face. And the softer you make your transitions and the correct values that you're using for the face, you'll start to see the effects come through correctly. Like right here is too light a line and I know it. A little bit of water. Just to loosen the acrylics up a little bit. In oils, you could use linseed oil, turpentine, whatever medium you're using. Acrylics are much more forgiving at this point and are a great background to your painting to finish in acrylics or to move on to oils. Oils can go over acrylics, but not acrylics over oils. Neither one is better. I prefer oils for my finish work. A little bit of red of our skin tone mixture. A little more crimson, root sienna, as his eye is in shadow. Right here, indicating that. Same thing here. Even though that color is quite bright. A lot of painting is just to remind yourself of what you actually want to have in that area. A few indicating colors, and that's too light. When you're doing your value checks, you can go, well, this cheek over on the left here is not as light as the one on the right that you're working on. I'll increase the value of my lightest areas, just temporarily. Then go back, wash my brush, grab a value or a slight bit of shadow color. Payne's gray is fantastic for this. A little bit of blue. I've got her cheekbone much too high. I'm going to drop that down with the paint. I'm going to lighten the side with a wash, acrylic wash for right now, just to kind of give me an idea of what I want. Moving down. Again, acrylic wash down here. It gives me a quick chance to check my values. If I like them, I let it dry and simply reapply the color just a little bit stronger. I don't like how light this line is, so instead of decreasing the value of the light, I'm going to increase, again, acrylics. Take it right off if you wish, with paper towel, and sort of a cloth, a little damp cloth. Her nose is quite straight, a little too straight for my liking. The light is going to hit here and here on her nose, lightest points towards you. Normally I put my lights in last, but I'm experimenting with the color values of this painting. With the bright type of a moon planet back here, dark mountains here, I want to find out where her light source is going to originate. It could be a water feature, it could be another moon, it could be a galaxy. I'm not sure yet. So I'm playing with the values on the areas of her face that I know would receive light and indicate that this is a human being. One nice thing about acrylics is when you're painting, even if they dry a little bit, you can add a small mister bottle like I'm using here, just water. Don't forget to mist your paints with that. You can also mist the actual acrylics, or just keep I usually keep, show you, this is my usual artist hand the way I'm doing it. 3 brushes. I've got a nice shop towel type rag, lint free if possible, and I'll keep 3 brushes. As you can see, here's a blender brush, and then, which is a Bob Ross wildlife brush, ironically enough, a Black Dynasty brush, and either a sable or a liner brush or a small detail brush, all at the ready. I keep them all clean at the same time except for the one that I'm using. Some people leave them in the water, but I don't like to leave my brushes in the water. I feel it damages them. If you get a drip and you don't want the drip, simply blot it with a cloth in your hand like I just did there, and then you can use the moisture in the brush to reanimate your paint a little bit. I like to go back, put the first dab of paint, if I don't wipe it off, on my lightest spot, and then use the residual to paint with so I get my values correct. Again, I'm dealing with a line here, so I want to blend that out because there wouldn't be a sharp line. Her eyebrow will go there eventually. I don't have enough light to indicate her eye over here, so I'm going to work with that. There'll be a small curve there. Again, this is kind of drawing with your paintbrush, which is quite beneficial if you already have your basic drawing done. And you work in layers. Again, right in this area here of her face, I don't know how detailed the camera is getting, but you can see we have a shadow, a blue shadow over here, which will be coming from her her hood. So that's starting to take form. We have a light that's starting to take form from the back, and her nose. This needs to be darker in here. We can just lighten underneath it temporarily to indicate that that will be lighter. This is indicating her face lighting right now is a daylight type lighting, and I'm not totally sold that that's what I want, but for right now it'll work. For here's an instance, like this paint here is starting to dry a little bit. With the moisture from the brush, I'll grab it, and you can, this is one of the ways to do atmospheric effects, you can just drag that paint upward and it will get less and less as it goes and blend. Transition blending, very, very useful. It's very, very rough right now, but that's okay. We're just getting the basic form. Working on some skin, some tonal colors, playing with my light. Dry brush. Still working in acrylics. A little bit of iridescent acrylics in here. I find on original paintings it really adds some nice texture to whoever ends up with the original. The print will never have that. Right now with the darks, I'm actually shaping contours in the face and getting the form that I like. Areas like the eyes, well, I'll go back. They're not even ready yet. They're just the basic form in there. They're not equal right now. Size is not right. Lighting's not correct, and that's fine. I'll probably start using oils before long here. Right now, this is just about playing, actually. Again, I'm seeing a bonnet over her head. I'll zoom out. You should be able to see what I'm talking about. A bonnet over her head. What I'm trying to figure out is how much, with this big planet moon in the back, some mountain areas back here. I'm seeing trees also. I've got a sketched in hand right here. I'm not sure why. There's another figure on this side over here. It's partially not visible now. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to go with this, but we'll just keep playing around. Some products I use, Golden's. This is a slower dry open acrylics. It takes 2 to 3 times as long to dry. Works fantastic. I suggest you buy a big tube, especially a color like Payne's Gray, which is, I love to combine with blue or red. It gives, instead of using a pure black or a pure white, you're not using a pure black, which is kind of frowned upon, but I do it anyway. But all artists do, even though they teach you not to use the extremes, the pure whites and pure blacks. Just save them for certain accents. But when it comes to a shadow color, like I'm dealing with this mountain up here, and I don't know. I know I wanted to extend down. I thought my valley would be up here between the two. There'll be another one up here. But right now I'm just blocking in areas of dark that I want, because I can't show any light until the darks are in. So what I want a bridge between these two, a very far away bridge. So with Payne's Gray, it's not as dark, it's more of a shadow color, especially if you add some blues. The beauty of that is that people say, oh, a mountain should be dark, and then you put your highlights on top of it, of the moon glow or whatever, but the fact is, farther away items are going to be less dark, if that makes any sense. The more you define them, the closer they get. So right now I've got them quite defined. And that has to change so I can get the depth that I'm looking for. The shape of these is, I don't know why this shape is taking this form, but it is. They're like trees, but they're actually spires. And I usually do a much better job of my spires, but what I find is that when I add my highlights is when the actual rock formations, mountains, whatever, that's when they really take form. So maybe this is to be a ledge or something over here. I would normally use a palette knife or a very large brush to do this. But right now I'm just looking for some form. Again, you can't see when I'm painting, so I'll move the camera up there. It's kind of boring for you to sit there and listen to the gap. So we've got some good basic color here. I have to do this background area before I do anything in the forefront with her. I need to get my background finished up the way it's going to be. I wanted the look of falling, which is what I've got. I've got my falling area above her, which is interesting. It's not right or wrong. Some ledges off this mountain are good. I want that appearance of gravity is pulling down the whole side of this mountain. And as soon as I can, I'll adjust the camera to zoom out more. So this is a very big canvas. So I'm focusing in on this central area right here. I need to go back and really brighten up this moon in the background so it'll have some more of a glow. I'll add some yellows and things like that. I know I've got a figure here. You can't see all of her. I'm using my drips that I use as a guide. They're vertical, obviously, and I'm trying to incorporate some of my drips staying there. And I often go back, especially when I lighten up this moon, and I'll re-drip the areas that I like, and that's how you get the nice impromptu chaos effect, if you will, that really draws on the imagination. As you can see, I'm holding the brush very, very far away using my shoulder. That's a great technique for doing any type of loose painting. You can tighten it. You can always tighten it up later, but your initial layouts, especially if you're not going from a pen drawing or a sketch drawing, you're painting while you're drawing while you're painting, that is to stay very loose. And you can't be loose if you're all the way tightened up like this. You know, if I was doing the eye work, then I would. So when you start your paintings, be very unjudgmental of yourself. Be very unjudgmental of everything. In fact, no judgment should come in at all. Because remember, anything that you put on this canvas, you can change. When it comes to the drip technique, you go, many times I've said, oh, it's perfect just the way it is. I like these drips down here, for instance, and I like the randomness. But remember, random can always be redone. Use what you have as a guideline and go from there. You can always re-drip stuff later or not drip at all. You can simply build your canvas on what the background has provided for you for ideas. And that's really the benefit that I get from this technique is just, you know, check that out. What's that? It's something new. You can't really plan it. You can plan the drips to go in a certain area, but how they go is up to nature and gravity. So as you get down to the base of a mountain, you know, it's going to get, you know, good old Bob Ross stuff. It's going to, you want to blend the base of your mountain into the surroundings, just for your own edification. Kind of gives me ideas. You know, this hand over here, you probably can't see it too well, but it's reaching, and she's staring in this direction. Her light source still isn't created. There's another form over on this side that I need to start blocking in a little bit, or I'll lose it behind the moon. Or I may get rid of it altogether because I'm liking how this angle is going down. I'll move the camera back and you can get an idea. Idea of the size that we're dealing with. You get an idea of the size of this canvas. So I'm going to continue working, and we'll see where this ends up. Again, I wanted this swoop here to continue further down. I'm going to grab a little, and that's going to disappear into nothing else. Hey, buddy. Video. Thinking about a water element over here. One way I like to do that is water needs to be perfectly horizontal. You can use a piece of tape or just use a area from your shoulder. Kind of make it a little bit lighter in the back. Again, this would have more of an orange glow eventually, but I'm dealing with blues. A little bit of water. Again, I think I'm going to carry this line over further. This curve of the mountain here. Let's zoom out a little bit. I have the mountain drop off right here. Kind of have it like an overhang, you know, and it's going to kind of go back in like it's a ledge, almost, something like that. My center of interest, feeding it here. So a water element, I need to establish some darks. I need to get some more Prussian blue. Kind of loosen things up a little bit. Again, the transparency of acrylics really come to your favor here. And get some more yellows in there. Of course, with blue, you're going to end up with some greens. But that's okay. Again, this area here will probably, the moon will be shining down, so it's going to be lighter right in this area. It'll get darker as we go over here. Right now I'm just kind of indicating that. You're probably viewing this at a bit of an angle. See if I can straighten it up for you a little bit. Again, you're not right on the painting, but it's kind of off to the side a little bit. Grab a fan brush and some more blues. I'm using Prussian blue. Also, turquoise deep by Liquitex is great for oceans or any type of water. I'm going to find some of that. Yeah. Heavy body is what I use a lot of. This is turquoise deep. Fantastic color for any type of an ocean. I'm gonna go in pretty thick. Now I've got the paint pretty thick on there. I'm just trying to get some color going here. I'm leaving the white line at the top just so I can remember what I'm doing. And it may not look straight to you, but it actually is. Wanted the moon or planet in the back to be just kissing the horizon a little bit. Small spray bottle atomizer. Let that begin to move a little bit. We'll let that run for a bit and we'll see what we get. I want to show you something that happens when you're painting. We were working on a water element up here by the moon. Some of the drips are coming down. I'm moving vertically across, and as you spray or mist the paint, they'll start to move on you. And the light sheen you're seeing here isn't actually here. It's because of the light in the room. But I can see the monitor, and that tells me something very interesting, that because this side is light over here, it's different than the moonlight. And that is a very interesting effect. Really, this area here, this dark, is actually what this color is over here, but because I'm viewing this painting currently through the monitor, I'm seeing all this light over here that I can duplicate. So that's something to think about when you're painting. If you see a shine or a sheen on your painting, it can help you and guide you. It gives the depth of the painting that I was looking for. Second thing, down here, I started adding some Payne's Gray, Prussian blue, turquoise deep, down in this area here. And because I wanted the bottom of the painting, because I'm having some drips coming down through here, I wanted this area of the painting to be darker so that it constantly draws the eye back to the center of interest of what we're doing. I had planned all kinds of figures and all kinds of things going on, but as I work this, I'm seeing something happen that is quite interesting. And that's, when you're painting live, and actually working with a fan brush and just demonstrating various things, I'm hitting, the brush is incredibly loaded. I don't know if you can see that. What that is Payne's gray, Prussian blue, turquoise deep, a little bit of water. And the brush is just loaded. And what I'm doing is I'm coming up vertically from the bottom. Just the same idea as the top up here, but I'm working it from the bottom because I realize the bottom of my painting, because it is a drip painting, is going to be lighter at the bottom until I make it. And I'm putting the paint on quite thick. You know, same way you would do with oils or some other media. If you let that dark paint down here dry, then it's permanently dark for you, which is perfect. If it's a little too dark and you want some more life into it, you simply add some water, either on your brush or through an atomizer. I don't want to go too far here because I wanted some depth down in this painting, and this is what it's giving me. I have these things reaching up now. I have some drips coming down now. And the beauty of that is when you move to oils or stay with acrylics, you've created all this nice mystery. This actually looks like a forest back here underwater, which is what I wanted. Didn't know I wanted it when I started the painting. I had a sketch outline of what I wanted to do. This is completely different than, saying, doing a figurative portrait of somebody. This is actually just playing around. And you end up with some very interesting things by doing this. And again, I'm very far out with the fan brush. You can see how far I'm not choked up on it. If I can stress that to you enough. Let yourself just have freedom. Let the brush do the work. This is a fan brush, so it creates very, very fluid lines, and a lot of descriptive elements can happen from a fan brush. Any artist will tell you that. I suggest you try one. You can get them very cheaply at any store. You don't have to buy expensive brushes to be a good painter. So I'm liking how that's going. I'm going to fill in some more. And again, this is simply, look, I'm just blotting down here. I know the camera's not showing you all of it down here, but you will see it eventually. You'll see what I'm talking about a little clearer. By creating all this dark down here, it gives me a canvas, a new canvas, for adding lights. Because this is all open down here now. Whether or not I covered this up or not doesn't really matter. I'm going to experiment. I let my acrylics dry a little bit. And remember, I have a slow dry Payne's gray in there, so that's going to slow down my drying time anywhere it is, which is good. I'm just going to add a little bit of water in my concentrated areas, leaving the center area kind of open. And we're going to let that set up and dry. Again, I'm going to remove from your view that light source as best that I can. I should close the blinds. I have a window open with sunlight as much as humanly possible. Plus, I have a light above, as much light as possible. Really can't get rid of it for you. I'm trying to. There we go. I'll put my head in the way. How's that? So now you can see this area here is dark. The light you're seeing is from the window. That is cool, because then my light above right here is really not there. The light over here is actually not there. But it gives me a great way of looking at this painting in a new way. And I can duplicate that if I choose to. I'm going to let this dry and we'll go from there. What I'm doing here is kind of defining this mountain area here. Very interesting shape, which makes no sense. But that's cool. I'm doing some pink and some white, and like I said, when your dark is overlaid, I also added some yellows and oranges to our planet area. I was trying to brighten up this area as it's going to be casting. I'll have a dual light, so I'm really liking where it's going. So, very loose brushwork on the basic formation of the mountain. You ever want to learn how to do mountains and rocks? So you can see we're starting to get a nice form here. The depth is coming here. The light is spilling through this particular structure. Still working on the water element. Fan brush, pure white, a little bit of pink and blue in it. Thin paint sticks to thick. And what I'm doing here is just indicating horizontal lines for water. Just giving it a little bit of life. Add a little yellow in there. The paint's still kind of wet, so I'm going to move quickly. One technique with the fan brush is just this movement. It's just rocking and making little commas. Moving horizontally. Again, as you're working this, dry your brush, go back, and then work them back. Kind of blend back a little bit, and it will create a nice water for you. Water, people overcomplicate water. It's really very simple. Water in the back, far away from you, gets lighter, more foggy and harder to distinguish. Water closer to you is more defined, so don't have like big white caps in the way back of your water. Leave some mystery back there, leave some dark places. This area right in here, where you have a dark area, is the optimal place to place any highlights. You can really create your ocean scene. You have to have the dark underneath it, and then you can just indicate. I gotta get my paint a little thinner. It's too thick to work with this. So I'm gonna put on some titanium white, thin it down, and then have your brush, before you ever touch it, with a very fine edge on the fan brush, and you want to use that to your advantage. But take some paint off always before you ever touch the brush, unless you know exactly how much paint you're actually working with. And just go through and indicate movement. I'm not sure exactly how far out I want this to go, but I'm going to use these dark places as an indicator of where my waves are at. And then you can use a script liner brush later on to indicate little things. Want a bigger wave? You can simply put it in. Got a bit of an angle, but that's okay. So that's the beginning of a wave there, a little bit of shape, form. As you can see, I've got the green back here, and then the water changes to blue. Don't be afraid to pick up more green and put it under your waves. And we'll start getting some ocean feels going on in here. One thing I often do is I let it dry and then come back and decide how much of I want to keep. But it has to be there before I can move forward with any type of a storytelling here. I need to get my water kind of established here behind her, the female figure here. This opening really intrigues me, but the problem is she's going to cover it if I have a head, a hood on her. So I don't know where we're going to go with that just yet. We'll kind of leave it where it is right now. Kind of a nighttime stormy sea with a harvest moon type of feel. I'm going to add a little bit more highlights here. And I will come back. There's many layers. You want to work in layers, and so all these white caps and stuff that we have in our ocean, you come back later when it's dry and hit them with pure white or yellow light if you wish to have your light source shine upon the water in any way you want. I kind of like having it lighter over here, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where we end up. Painting is just an illusion, and we're just indicating that illusion. Keeping our lines as horizontal as possible. Right now the water's kind of floating into our figure, but that's okay. It needs to be behind her anyway. As you can see, we've got 3 or 4 layers going on. You've got drips in the background, you've got spires coming from the bottom, you've got, you know, light from the top, and so you've got all these elements working in your favor. All right, so I'm going to let that dry for a bit, that water, and then we'll go from there.